Okay, so this is where we left off last week with our mock-up newsletter. And we talked about packaging the file. So when we go to File, Package, and what that does is collect all aspects of the file, the fonts, the LinkedIn images, so images that you've placed in, gone to File and Place, those are linked. And this, of course, stores that folder, collects all aspects of the document and stores it in that folder. When you're working on your own computers, you don't necessarily have to do that. If the document's going to be worked on only on that computer, in the classrooms, in the labs, we use those. We use the packaging in order to allow us to move the file from one computer to another, or before you shut down, you save it, you package it, and upload it to the cloud or whatever, and then when you come into the classroom again, you can access everything. Because in the classroom, of course, the computers don't retain what we've saved to them. So either way, we're seeing some errors here on this. So when I opened it, I see these red question marks up in the corner of these images. And I have what it's saying as 5 errors down at the bottom. So remember, in the errors, although you may be working on the file still, you certainly want to be aware of the errors you have. And then by the end, when you are, of course, sending this out to production, saving it, whatever, those errors have to be cleared. You have to make sure that they're cleared. So if you opened your file, you're working on it, and for some reason you have errors, or you have these question marks and you're wondering what's wrong, I'm just going to show you that. So I can double click right on the word errors here. And this term pre-flight, this is the pre-flight window that double clicking on errors opens. And what that is referring to is when we didn't have a lot of the automation in these programs, we would have to do a pre-flight to a file. So it essentially meant before you send it, you have to make sure everything's working correctly. So we would pre-flight our files. Well, now it's kind of giving us a heads up on things like that. So if I double click on links, for example, it tells me there's missing links and there's 4 of them. So I'll double click again. And it's telling me all of these images that it doesn't have access to. So the images may have been moved. The images may be missing entirely. If you worked off your desktop, for example, and then you saved your InDesign document, but you didn't save the images and you trashed them, the document can't find them. It's trying to link them in. So these are the images it's missing. And then in the text, I'll double click on text, there's what's called overset text. So we saw a little bit of that earlier. I'm going to double click there. And if I double click on the frame itself, it'll bring right into center screen that, that frame that has overset text. So overset text is often an error that we can get away with while we're working. We know we have to get to it. We may be bringing in other content, but it definitely has to be fixed. All errors have to be corrected, because even though we see the image here, it's only a preview. It's not going to produce correctly. If it was sent to print, it would be a very, very fuzzy, low-res image. If it was saved as a PDF, it would be extremely low resolution and just very poor quality. It also wouldn't contain a lot of the necessary code and so on that's required for if it's an automated document or even just a PDF. So it's just retaining a preview of these things. The actual image isn't linked in. So when we see the overset text, for example, we know that it's indicating that there's more in the frame than we can actually see. So we need to either make room for it, open up the frame, or we simply have to adjust, edit the copy, or get the correct copy in, and so on, so that we know that the space we have will contain the content we need. So I just pulled that frame open and it got rid of that error. Now sometimes you're going to see this. I'm just going to do a bunch of returns here. Now what those are called is the invisible characters, the hidden characters. We saw that in our last tutorial where you can turn them on and off in the type menu. And it's saying now that I have an error again. So I'm going to go back to that in the frame, and it's saying overset text, but we see all of the content. So you have to be careful, because even those hidden characters they're still characters, they're just not inked characters, we'll say, and they can still trigger an overset text. So I'm just going to go here, I'm going to go to the end of my content. I'm going to do that function delete. So function is at the lower left of your keyboard. I'm going to hold that down and press delete. And if you're on a PC, you can just use the regular forward delete. So that has cleared the errors. So 4 errors gone. So I'm just going to put this back. Now we always want to work tidy. We want to keep frames closed when we can and so on. But we still have these errors with the images. So I kind of set that up purposefully on this one, but I'm going to show you how to clear that. So I would see, okay, I've got this image missing. I go to my errors, double click. It's obviously going to bring up our pre-flight window, and then I can click on this and I can go get a report about it and so on. Very rarely you need to do this. You actually just want to update that link. So I'm going to go to my links window. So I went to the window, opened up links, and this is where it shows the more true detail of what's missing. So we have in all of these instances, in 3 instances, it's missing the black hot rod couple, and in this it's missing this iStock image twice. So there's our 4 missing images. So I'm just going to close these arrows up again. So this one is missing twice, and this one is missing twice. So I'm going to click on one of them. I'll go to the little flyout menu there, and we call that the flyout menu in the upper corner of the panel. And I'll go to relink all instances. Now what it's going to ask me to do is track down that image. So I need to find that image for it. So this is one reason why you certainly want to be organized with your files and your work, having them all in a project folder, somewhere you know they'll be. It's very easy to have files laying all over the place on your computer, I know. So being organized with the items pertaining to any given file is definitely very helpful. So I'll click on it and say open, and it updated those. Basically said thank you, and they're found, and we're good. So now I'll do the same with this one. I'll go to relink all instances, and I have to locate this one. There we go. And there it goes, it cleared them. So if all that is taken care of, I should have, in this case, no errors. So once again, it's okay to have errors if you're working, but you definitely want to avoid having missing link errors. Even while you're working, that's really not necessary. But then you may have text errors, overset text and so on, or missing typeface and that. While you're working, those are things that you are aware of. But when you save, when you're done this document and you're about to export as a PDF or send it to print, or however you're finalizing the project, you should never have any errors in your document.